Hello, everybody. We are live. Welcome to our after church tea time, where we continue the discussion on Jose Michaela's sermon. It was a really great sermon, and we are joined today by a beautiful panel of Eunice, Granville, and Valentina.
Hello.
Hi there. And I just wanted to add in wearing the glasses for medical reasons, not for a fashion statement. So just to add that in here. There we go. Hi, nice to meet y'all.
Thank you.
Good. Well, who would like to start discussing today's sermons? I know we did the intro and outro, so we're just leaving the floor for somebody else to talk as well.
So I think something that probably stood out for me and something that's it's kind of a periodic energy, right? So it feels like that energy of moving and stopping and moving and stopping. And I think you guys also touched on it in the intro. And just kind of being comfortable that that's the energy that's kind of transpiring and that I'm working through. So, you know, almost that feeling of a partial block or stuck energy that doesn't always feel so comfortable. And yeah, I think today's sermon was just another great reminder just to relax into what's happening and to work through that resistance that's showing up in those places and not to take it so seriously.
Yep. Yeah, it's really like just move, as you said, like just moving forward, don't take the resistance seriously. And I think it's worth it to realize, like, when you feel that resistance, to not to put it in other words, don't give it power, I guess. And it's just I really feel like when we get to that space, it's kind of like using logic. Okay, does actually doing that thing serve me or not? If the answer is yes, and you feel resistance to doing that, then probably you should do that even if you feel resistance. It's because that is what you have to do in that moment to work to that resistance, actually doing the thing, not stopping yourself from doing the thing.
Yeah, it's working through that resistance and seeing like what comes up when you move through that resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, you know, in having faith in God and choosing to go on this journey with God, which is something that Jose and Michaela touched upon in this sermon, it's really about you have to let go of kind of how it looks like, right? And even if maybe it's kind of funny because on another side, does it logically make sense? Yes. But I feel very bad, then you're not supposed to move forward until you sort out through those feelings. And maybe something that logically would make sense, maybe is not the right thing for you to do because God is guiding you into another direction. So it's really about connecting with God and allowing that inspiration to come forth from God to kind of guide you into the direction of your greatest good.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's, I like to see that kind of letting God make the grander plan of your life and you kind of just co-create that plan with God, because it's only God who knows how to help you go from where you are right now to like your, I think, like highest potential or your highest dreams. And if you claim that, you have to surrender to God's plan in this space.
Yeah, and here, like, just to keep in mind as well that maybe sometimes when it feels bad to move forward, it's not feels bad to move forward. It's just the bad feeling that you're not doing it already.
Mm-hmm.
That's just to complete what you said.
Yeah, I find this service really appropriate because I've been moving through this myself, like feeling stressed out and like what am I going to do for my life purpose? And you can get easily kind of sucked into that mode of survival and stress. So I feel like this has been you know, exactly what I had to hear today, and it was a surprise. I didn't know this topic was coming. So yeah, I'm just learning myself really to be more present with God and, you know, move from a good place and not a fear-based state of being. And just really, I feel like we're all letting go of that in the community. So we're all moving through this together. Yeah.
I think you touched on something quite important in kind of transcending that fear-based energy. And you know, it's something that probably does a cyclical thing. And it's what Michaela and Jose spoke to around what is actually the source of motivation here. And what do we choose to be the motivation? And I think Laurentia and Alexandra, you also shared it in your sermon last week around what do we choose to have as the teacher? Do we choose fear to be the teacher, or do we choose love to be the teacher? And, you know, like sitting back and just like looking at my journey, I often have to just take a step back and go like, well, what am I doing right now? And am I doing it because I love doing it? Or am I doing it because I fear that something is going to go wrong, or I'm not really enjoying it? And it's kind of been a journey of just learning to honor what I'm feeling in that space of doing something, and allowing myself to work through whatever that energy is that's coming up. And that often I've found that it's kind of more, the motivation was more out of a space of not wanting to fail, like that fear of failure, as opposed to kind of really wanting to be successful or making something work, or even just enjoying it, you know. And I find that like I'll enjoy something now, but in a month's time I won't enjoy that thing anymore. And so I move through these things all the time, and like sometimes I enjoy sitting with these significant documents and working through that, and other times I'm like, can I just talk to people for a change? Can I just not deal with paper? Can I just not deal with people on paper? I want to just deal with people. So, you know, like it's kind of a mix. And so I'm learning to be comfortable with being in that space of having the mix. And I don't always want to be with people, and I don't always want to do things related to people. Sometimes I want to handle the technical stuff that's like rules driven, procedures driven, and all that kind of stuff. And other times I want to deal with people. So like I'm really just getting comfortable with where's my energy being directed and how to direct my energy in those spaces. So not forcing myself to do things anymore.
Yeah, I think that's really great. And it kind of talks about having that faith in God. Like when you make your kind of to-do list or your plan with God and choose to like partner with God in that space, sometimes, you know, what seems like you have to do, you actually don't have to do. Maybe you have to give to yourself in some way. And usually for me, when I've listened to God and I surrendered and did what God asked me to do, the thing would either resolve itself, or when I actually got to do it, I would do it like in 10 minutes or something. And I had moments when I didn't listen to God, and it took me hours and hours. I did a mistake, and there was like such an energy leak to not listen to God in that moment. So it's really important to kind of listen to God, listen to that like intuition about what you're supposed to be doing and how that is serving your highest good. Because maybe you have here like something that you need to give to yourself that you're not giving in order for you to move forward in your journey. And it's really important. It starts with you, and you have to give it to yourself first. You have to go through that healing process. It is kind of like it is the healing process. Like you have to love yourself, and it starts with that. All projects move when you heal, when you support them spiritually, when you love them completely. And I think like something that I really love that Jose and Michaela touched upon, loving completely. I think like a misconception in the world about loving completely is like, oh, you have to give it like attention, or like be stressed about it, or, you know, action, when in fact, to love something completely, you have to heal, and you have to put the spiritual energy behind it so it can grow. And sometimes, and we're not being taught that. That's something that I learned, you know, in life purpose class and here in the community, that everything is flowing when, you know, we love it. Only when we love, solutions comes. Only when we arrive at the place of peace, the solution arises to whatever challenge or problem or issue is being presented. And it is work to do that. And I think like one of the bigger things as healers, I kind of remember the healer card that Kanisha pulled in the card reading. One of the things as healers is that we don't really value our healing enough. Like we don't really see how important the healing is for moving forward projects, moving forward things in our life. And this is what I think it ties beautifully with Jose and Michaela said, that resistance is the resistance just to healing, right? And we're being taught that kind of the old paradigm of society that, oh, we have to work harder, action more, do more things if possible, when actually, no, it's counterintuitive to that. We have to take a step back and heal whatever is being presented within the project or business adventure or in your own life. It's the healing first that drives everything. And yeah, it gets easier the more you do it.
Mm-hmm. And another thing to add to that is just that from our experience and what we've seen and what is shared in life purpose class is that it's when it comes to upsets with life purpose, like your life purpose or what you're supposed to do, it's always going to come through what is most close to your life purpose rather than what is not. What I mean about that is, let's say you have a job that you're doing that you're not so fond of, but you're doing it to sustain yourself financially. And you have another thing that you're doing more like a passion or a project or part of your life purpose that you're doing that might feel good for you. You know, you actually enjoy to do that. But when it comes to actually like keep doing it for a longer time, probably a lot more things will come up through that passion, through that life purpose, rather than through that job. And the reason behind that is because, well, the passion and the life purpose thing that you're doing there is actually like wanting you to go deeper with it, which that means that will provide you more access to heal through. Whether the job that you're doing it just so you can sustain yourself financially might not, because that's not its intention. Its intention is just to sustain you, not to bring you deeper. Even if there might be things coming up there. But just because things come up in your life purpose more than in the normal job doesn't mean the normal job is better than the life purpose for you in the longer term.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that I had to heal to transcend from a 9-to-5 job to my life purpose was about, I really put everything, and I mean everything, like I put all of my energy and all of my being in trying to have that juicy feeling that I wanted from my 9-to-5 job. And it just wasn't happening, right? Because it was not my life purpose. I was kind of having like a soulmate thingy. I wanted my soulmate job to be my twin flame job, and it was not working out. It was not. And I had to like accept what it was. And the moment that I accepted that, I was able to transcend it. And, you know, that was me kind of loving the situation fully and completely. I had to realize, okay, this is a a soulmate situation. And I didn't, how to say, dump it, like scam, you know, like I appreciated it for what it gave me. And I still loved in a way that felt appropriate for a soulmate relationship with my job, right? Because right now I think like you can still have wonderful relationships with soulmates, but just not romantic, right? So it's the same thing. Don't put the romance card, you know, on your job. That's like not your twin flame job. So take it as you wish. Oh my God, we're going places. I'm gonna stop myself now. Thank you.
No, I
Yeah,
think that was the perfect analogy. Like, you know, like when you put it in that perspective, it kind of just makes it more clear. So I think it worked nicely. It might sound like a joke, but it actually worked quite nicely.
I was just gonna say, back to a point you made about like the resistance and struggle. I've noticed that myself, like when I'm thinking, okay, I've got all this stuff to do, need to get a move on, just do it. And then I've got this feeling like you need to heal something here, you need to do the mirror exercise. And then I kind of ignore that voice and I do the stuff. And it's like it takes me all day to do everything like that should normally take a short amount of time. And there's that kind of struggle energy. But when I've healed the block, I just kind of fly through it. And it's kind of like the feeling I get is when I'm going against the flow, it kind of like imagine like water flowing and it's supposed to go in one direction. And then like we're kind of pushing against it, trying to go the opposite way. And that's what feels bad and we lose energy. But when we go with God's flow, we just kind of like move with that water. So that's what comes to me with that point you made. And something that came up when Lorenzo was talking is that I've had this thing of like, okay, I need, you know, an income for my survival, for the basic needs, my foundation. But then there's this other part of me that is like, oh, I just really want to paint. Like my heart is calling me to paint and to do a series, like a twin flame series and like some kind of like romantic silhouette couples. And I was going down the avenue of, okay, I'll just you know, I'll just focus on making money. And it's like it's not coming at all. So when you said that, it kind of hit a chord in me and I was like, okay, yeah, God is maybe hinting over the life purpose. It's gonna be like, you know, there's more to it to kind of build your stability. There's a higher risk in what you're doing. You've never done it before. I'm selling paintings. But when you go with that good feeling and what feels good to you, what you're created to do, it's it calms you, makes you feel peaceful as you're doing it. People then can receive, like you receive it as you're doing what the thing is, whatever it is. For me, it's painting. But then like I give that product to someone else and then they receive love from it. Like doesn't matter what role that is. That's the way it works. So yeah, I just love that. And like when Jose and Michaela were talking in their sermon, they were discussing this. Like I didn't know that your life purpose could heal depression and these different things, anxiety. I had no idea, and I thought, well, that's fantastic. It's like a medicine, you know, within itself to heal you. So yeah, it feels really good.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to your life purpose and what you just said now about healing you, it's kind of like the thing that will drive you deeper into actually having a very good relationship with work in general. Because when it comes to your life purpose, I know, like when we started, let's say when it comes to I mean, even with Divine Gaming, when we started, like there were so many things coming up, so many upsets coming up about that, about a lot of stuff, and looked like we were like we didn't know exactly how to do it from this point of view, from a loving point of view. And this is another thing to keep in mind. Maybe you know how to work in society, but do you know how to work with love from the work perspective?
Yeah. And I think it's another thing here is related to, we haven't really been raised as children to really pursue our dreams. Like, I think like we can have compassion, and I think like our parents did our best, but you know, we have this ingrained mentality that only something can bring you money. Only like a 9-to-5 job can like sustain you, or only like this kind of business can sustain you, right? And I know, for example, when it comes to doing art, and we kind of went to like a similar thing with video games, it's kind of like saying that artists don't make money, and if you're gonna be an artist, like you're gonna be poor forever, or all of those kind of things, you know, when that doesn't have to be the case. And when you kind of work in your life purpose, some things that come up are all of these false beliefs about what your life purpose is, and and you have to move through them, you have to say no to them, and you have to heal through all of that energy. And it's not necessarily an easy or fun part of the life purpose thing, but it's the building blocks for you to be able to manifest your life purpose the way that you desire. So for example, with art and kind of what you were saying, you have to see kind of another lesson that came in my mind when you're talking from life purpose is like how it was, it's like thinking in an eternal way, thinking of yourself that you're building something eternal. You're not building something like a quick fix for the next month or two, or a year, or even 10. Like as unionists and in life purpose class, you're being taught to think in eternal terms. So for example, for me, what I'm thinking of, like I would want my client to, in whatever I'm doing, be it like I paint a painting for them, be it like I have a session with them, being like I make a cookie for them, be it whatever, right? I would like for them to receive from that moment forever, if possible. And I know like with God, it is possible for it to receive from that forever, because this is kind of the like what we're being taught, for example, with how much life purpose class and Twin Flame Ascension School impact us. Like we can receive forever from those products, let's say, from those classes, from those teachings. And we are capable of creating something similar. We are capable of really providing so much value, but we have to see that we can do that in the first place. And I think like it ties beautifully to what Jose and Michaela said in the sermon. What I think, like, if God calls you to give a lot of love, you will have like these kind of challenges to work through to be able to grow into a place where you can give that amount of love. So I'm thinking that, for example, for a painting, that person will watch that painting every day on their wall and receive love. And
if they choose. If they choose.
Well, yeah, but that's going to be the purpose of it. And that's like extremely powerful. Like that you're loving somebody each and every day of their life by then having that painting there. Like that's incredible. That raises the value of their whole house at the end of the day, right? And for somebody who is able to see it. And it also kind of makes me think about the story of Jim with a great idea, right? And Jim had to knock on all of these doors to present his ideas, and it wasn't until he got to like the highest door that his idea was like received. But that was because like Jim persevered and moved through and followed God at each and every step, and didn't give up and think like, oh, I guess my idea is not good enough. You know, what would happen if like at any point in time Jim would have thought that like his golden idea would be lost? So don't let your golden ideas be lost. They're valuable. God created you because you are valuable. Each and every one of us has something valuable to offer that only we can do. So yeah. I need a moment now.
So something else that stood out for me, that stands out for me on this journey is also just the importance of taking a break and resting. And I feel like it's something that Michaela and Jose shared around, you know, that energy of feeling like you always have to be busy and you always have to be hustling and you're always stressed out and all that other stuff. And it's something that I've had to learn over the last few years. It's like, it's okay to actually rest. It's okay to take time out. It's okay to allow your mind to unwind, to allow your body to unwind. And I think it's something that we probably grow up believing that we always have to be busy. We always, because we've seen the people around us doing it. And so we believe that that's the best way to be productive. And I actually found that in taking a rest, I am able to be more productive afterwards. So I think it's also important for us just to kind of look at it and go, well, you know, it is important. And it's important to let ourselves off the hook for needing a rest in the first place. It's not something that we get taught, but it's something that we do need to learn to accept.
And I feel like just to add to that, it's when it comes to rest, it's really important for us to realize what rest actually is and where does rest come from. Because I do feel like we're taught that rest comes from sleeping, sitting, and doing other stuff. While, you know, at some extent, it's true, but the true rest comes from peace. And whenever you might feel overwhelmed or tired or really like not feeling good to do anything, first thing should be peace before you try to actually go into sitting down to try to rest, trying to seek the rest from outside rather than from inside. So the true rest comes from inside, not from outside.
Mm-hmm. So does that mean that we can rest while doing things if we are peaceful?
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, I've proven it myself over and over. Sometimes the problem solves itself because I'm not focusing on the problem. And it's just because our minds do their thing. They work. They are an active organism that works. So sometimes when you stop focusing on finding the solution presents itself.
For all of those people who stopped chasing their twin flame and the twin flame came back.
Yes.
This is why.
Is Valentina frozen? Oh.
No, I'm not frozen. I'm just saying, not always very expressive all the time. It's an autistic thing, but I'm laughing inside.
It's okay.
It's good.
No, I asked because you were so restful. I was like, what's happening there?
We're making sure we didn't lose you.
I think I had an idea, but I lost it. So
It's okay.
we can ground for a moment.
Yes. Yeah, I think one thing came up to me. Just, I think what you said earlier, Alexandra, like about letting God through you kind of to do the work. And I remember about from what Jose and Michela said in the sermon about how they saw this as Jeff and Shaleia about Jeff and Shaleia not allowing themselves to get in a place where they're overwhelmed. And like always being in a space with God, trusting God, because they know that God comes through them and God is the one who's doing everything. They are not the one who's doing the thing. And I feel like that's a very, important point to keep in mind when you have your, when you're doing anything, I guess, because you're able to understand that you don't have to figure out everything. You just have to do how God tells you. Then everything is figured out, which can be very relieving. I believe it is very relieving because a lot of times we're trying to figure out, we're trying to do it, but it's not us, it's God to us. And that in itself, yes, it relieves you of the being overwhelmed and allows you to actually go in the places where maybe you haven't been before with much more ease.
Yeah, I think something that just kind of struck me as well is that overwhelm always tends to come from assuming that we are responsible for everything. And it's something that I've kind of had to work through over the past few years as well. It's just kind of knowing that I have a piece. The whole thing doesn't belong to me. I'm not responsible for the whole thing, which allows me to also relax because I've got a specific set of skills for a specific thing. And somebody else may have their piece, but we all bring our piece to kind of fulfill the picture. So it has been also a learning curve to say, well, what do I need to contribute in this space? And what should I leave alone? And I feel like it's a very important lesson to learn because that also drives that sense of overwhelm when you feel like you have to do everything. And you sometimes feel like you don't have skills in certain places, but you still think you have to do everything. So I think it's also very important for us to realize that even in finding our purpose, that the entire thing is not ours. We all contribute in one sense or another to completing the picture.
Exactly. And I feel like when we kind of accept that, not only we relax, but we allow ourselves to like really be extremely productive in what we're doing. And I think like that's like a really good space to be in. And also in that space, I think like you are able to do another great thing of like, maybe you realize that another part of your I guess like here, like you're talking about life purpose, like in a team or in an organization environment, maybe you realize that a team is not doing so well, or it feels like you're not doing so well in that space. And either you can help or either you can just do inner work about it because you are still kind of part of that grander organism. So yeah, you're not responsible of going into somebody else's team and fixing their stuff unless like you have an idea that you may propose like in an appropriate manner. But your responsibility is only to realize like, oh, there's something stuck there and I can choose to love in that space. Because overall, even if like we're not responsible for everything, we're still like interconnected. And in the grander picture, like of an organization, I'm thinking And if somebody else kind of suffers, or like a department suffers, we're kind of all suffering in that space, because it's like, as an organism, we're all bleeding. Even if like individually, let's say like you're a really beautiful cell somewhere in the heart, right? And we have a bleeding happening, or a disease happening somewhere in the liver. Yeah, you can't just go there and bring health, but you can just love and hold space and point out something if really it's the matter. Because if you look at it from a grander perspective, if your heart is fine, but you have liver issues, overall, not so happy. Not so happy. So you have to be kind of aware also of what your piece is in like the grander scheme of things. And I think like this is it's kind of helping us just like put ourselves like in a stance. Like, am I responsible for whatever is happening on the other side of the planet? Well, no. But overarchingly, as a planet, we're suffering because of whatever is happening on the other side of the planet, right? So I can just have love and compassion and do my own healing work about however I feel in that certain scenario. So yeah, it's being responsible for your own peace, and I think like holding space for the bigger picture. So yeah. And something else, I remember what I wanted to say about rest now. It came back. I really love what Jose and Michaela shared about discipline, that you do have to be disciplined and, go do your thing. But at the same time, don't over-discipline yourself to the point where you're being very hard on yourself. So that's like a really important balance to strike. And again, it kind of boils down to the question that I asked, is like, what drives you? Why are you acting in this space right now? Why are you moving? Are you moving because you feel good and you feel peaceful and you feel great to do this thing? Or are you moving because you have a fear of something bad happening, or a fear of failure, or a fear of missing a deadline, or a fear of whatever coming up, that it's actually overall like not supporting you and it's draining you over your joy? You cultivate that joy in your life purpose and in your life by acting from a place of peace, and like choosing to have this shift in motivation. Because if you don't have this shift in motivation, then all the time you're going to act from that space of like, fear, or like suffering, and you're going to be always like in that space of suffering, because no matter what you do, it's never going to be enough, it's never going to be perfect, it's never going to be whatever. And that's not a loving thing it's not a loving way to think about yourself and treat yourself in, ultimately. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to say, something's come up that I've just remembered. Like when we try and create something, and we're creating from a place of stress or lack, anything like this, that will actually manifest itself into our creation, whatever that may be. And I can remember that Brianne and Adam, different sermon, but they were talking about like water, for example. It creates kind of like a ripple in the water. And this is the way we are as well. Like when we come from a place of fear and whatever, like kind of like negativity, that is going to show itself in whatever we create. However, when we create from a place of peace, then that will be created as well instead. So yeah, this is this is something that I think about, like whenever I'm going to do something, like cook a meal, paint, or just whatever I'm doing. You know, I always think about that. I'm very like conscious of that, and not creating from a place of stress. Don't want to manifest that back to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think this is one of the, I think the biggest lessons that we have learned in Divine Dish, you know, since you talked about food, and I felt the Divine Dish vibes. But yeah, it's you can have like the highest end food and you go to like the fanciest restaurant in town. But if the people in the restaurant work from a place of stress and they have, you know, anxieties or whatever, that's going to be present in the food. And that's what that's the energy that you put in yourself, like by eating that food. So it's really important when you do anything to choose it, to infuse it with that energy of peace and love, because ultimately that's what you're going to give to the people who are going to receive whatever like you're making. They're going to receive peace, and that's really, really valuable. That's healing for people. I cannot tell you how, like, the difference that I have experienced in my life. I would go to a restaurant and I would have like amazing food, but I would feel like my stomach clench because of stress, because of like anxiety. It wasn't a thing of like taste of ingredients. It was simply just like a thing of energy. And right now, like, because we're cooking Divine Dish, I'm just eating, and I just feel like my whole body relax. Like I feel like it's just like I'm going to the sauna and I'm receiving a massage. That's like my Divine Dish experience. Like it's so good. Like it's, besides like the fact that the meals are absolutely delicious, which is like a cherry on top of the cake, really, like it's really great. But for me, it's really that moment that I sit at the table and I take that first bite, and I'm always looking right now, looking forward to like eating, right? Because it's gonna be that feeling of like, it feels so good, so relaxing, and so peaceful, right? It feels like a hot bubbly bath with candles. You know, that's my experience, right? And that's an experience that you can, first of all, give yourself to everything that you're doing, and it's an experience that you give others as well through your life purpose, and that's extremely valuable.
Yeah. Though I don't think my life purpose is, at least so far, like being a chef.
Yeah, but it's a way in which you love and support yourself,
It's
right?
in a way that I'm supporting our life purpose, though.
Yeah, and again, it's not like it's not about, not everything has to be that, but how you treat yourself, it's important to be that way, because that level of support is what's helping you give that as well. You cannot give that if you don't receive that in your life.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like you touched on something quite important in the sense of being attuned to yourself, because as you were sharing, like, you know, just even getting the sense of what feeling went into creating your meal and how you then felt that in consuming the meal. I feel like it's a very important thing. And it's probably quite related to what Michaela and Jose shared around just becoming clear about your passion and allowing your passion to surface fully. So I feel like a lot of it is just, again, taking a step back and just really truly attuning to yourself so that you are clear about what the feeling is, what the passion is, what the desire is, and allowing that to settle in so that when your intuition does start speaking to you, that you are able to much more fully listen to it and follow through on it. And I think Kanisha even shared something related to it in the card reading around just actually allowing your intuition to really start talking to you and to allow yourself to start listening to your intuition. And it's also something that I read earlier that said, you know, your intuition is not going to be wrong. It might diminish sometimes because you're not listening to it. But when you choose to listen to it, it's something that develops and becomes more powerful. And so it's kind of on us to literally allow our intuition to grow. And we do that by trusting where we're being led and following the steps. You know, what you said earlier, do the thing, doing the thing. Gotta trust the steps because it's gonna reveal itself. But it will only get stronger the more you actually allow it to actually speak to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that's really true, like what you said there, Granville. And I also feel like as we develop our relationship with God, you know, through watching Twin Flame Ascension School, by doing the mirror exercise, watching LPC, or healing, doing our healing in general, I feel like our intuition will just get stronger. That voice that is like quiet, it becomes like more strong, more clear as we grow a relationship with God. And I see that in myself in my own journey. I used to maybe think, oh, I don't know what God has guided me to do here, and you know, it's just not clear at all. And I'd have to rely on, you know, a lot of external sources, like resources like cards or whatever. But as I've gone deeper with this work, I feel like my relationship with God has grown and my intuition gets better as time goes by. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I love that. And it's really about understanding who God is, because ultimately your intuition is your own relationship with God and your communication with God or with your higher self. And something that Jeff and Shaleia touch in the classes is that God is shy. So God is not going to be like, good, do this now, right? It's not going to shout at you to do something. It's not going to come at you with like alarms and bells and like flashing lights to do something, right? It's going to be a very quiet voice. And it's because God is shy. And I think like God is also respecting himself. God is respecting his own, you know, energy, and he's valuing himself. So therefore we really have to like treat God as our number one priority, because if we don't treat God with our number one priority, we're gonna miss it, right? And that's not something that God does, or because he doesn't want to help us, or because I don't know, whatever we might think about God in this space. He's doing that because he's respecting himself, and we have to build that relationship. And I think like in life, we're not being taught how to have, you know, healthy relationships, but our relationship with God is the number one lesson on how to have healthy relationships, because we're there being like, oh, God didn't do this for me, and God did that, and blah, blah, blah. But what have we done for God? Right? What did we do to earn that from God in that sense? And while God loves us unconditionally, and we don't necessarily have to earn it, but it's about our intention, and God can feel our intention. If our intention is not pure, we're not gonna move past a certain point with God, because we're not, it's kind of trying to unlock the key with the wrong, like unlock the door with the wrong key. It's never gonna work. We might try and try and try, but the issue is not with the door, it's with the key, and the key is in our hands. We have both keys, by the way. We always have the right key. God always, like, we have the right key. We might leave with the impression that we lost the key, but we never lost the key. It's always within us, and it's love. So yeah, I think it was a great point to make about that intuition. It's why it's tricky maybe to cultivate that relationship at first. It's because we have to, just as we're kind of building trust with God, God is also building trust with us. And yeah, it's just a relationship.
Yeah. What I've noticed is like I'll need help with something, but God will not give me the support unless I ask for it. And this can be like connecting directly with my twin flame, or me asking within my heart to God for support, for guidance, and then he gives me a sign or whatever that may be. But he doesn't actually just hand me the support on a platter unless I ask, or I, kind of, it's like he's there ready to give the support, but I need to, I accept it, choose to accept to receive it, and then it's given to me like immediately. And I feel like when God does that, it's because he's acknowledging our power, he's acknowledging like we are powerful and we can just ask for the support. So yeah, I've noticed that about God, and that feels really good in the relationship with him.
This reminds me a bit of the book Outwitting the Devil. In there, it was kind of said that when you want something, if you just say, "Oh, can you please give me that or this," or when you communicate that, let's say, to God, universe, it's kind of like you really are inviting ego in there instead of like you when you're okay, God, I want this, I claim this. And why I claim this? Because of this, and I need this because of this. When you're very clear on the intention of why you need what you need and why you're claiming what you're claiming, rather than just claiming it to be, rather than just asking to be asked, then you're actually receiving and going in that space of power where no ego can come in between you and God. Because when you leave an opening, when you don't communicate clearly on why do you want the thing that you want, and you're not clear on that, that's where ego can come in and stop that from happening. Yeah.
Good. How do we feel with the subject? Do we feel complete, or do you have any closing thoughts or comments before we go?
Feels complete to me.
Good.
Yeah, feel complete too.
Good. Well, this was a very juicy discussion. We went very deep with some things. So really happy to be joined here today by Granville and Valentina. It was a really awesome discussion. And thank you for everybody who's watching us live or on YouTube. Leave your thoughts in the comments. And yeah, we will see each other next time. Thank you, everybody. See you in the community.